Welcome to Heal the World Show podcast, brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Parmelia Parham. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute, and we are an online worldwide hub of holistic practitioners. We are out to heal the world. And on our podcast I invite a person to come and be my guest co-host, and we talk about the modalities and the work that they do, and so that you get to know them a little bit better and what their offerings are. So, I've studied healing and wellness for well over 20 years. I've used holistic ways to be well and stay well myself personally, and I know that it works. And so that's why we are giving people hope by having our holistic practitioners with the Healing Institute. They help you get to the root cause of what's going on. It's not just a symptom. We're not just looking at the symptoms. And as we know, our medical model that we have been using probably for the last 50 years is not working anymore. So that's why I created the Healing Institute and called it an institute, because I'm really passionate about educating people about how to be well and how to stay well on your health journey, because let's face it, we're all on a health journey. So why is this important to me? Well, we had a tragedy in our family a number of years ago. My mom passed away at age 61, and it was due to a complication of a medication that she had been on for over 20 years. We didn't realize that the side effects of being on this medication would compromise her kidneys. So right before Christmas, it was December 15th, I was 5 months pregnant with my son, and we lost her due to what had happened with her kidneys not working. Now, not only was it a tragedy that she died so young, but my children never got to meet their grandmother. And I just don't want that to happen for other families. I want people to realize that there's alternative ways to be well and stay well. And that's what we're offering at the Healing Institute. So as I mentioned, each week we have a guest co-host. The theme for August is awesome. So I've tried to do a theme every month. And this is the last month, or the last Friday rather, of the month of August. And so I am delighted to have Dr. Dolores Fazzino with us today, and she is awesome. So welcome, Dr. Dolores. Tell us just a little bit about you, and then we're just going to have a conversation around actually talking about creating certainty in uncertain times. And we were just chatting about that before we went live today. And honestly, we are recognizing that we are in very uncertain times at the moment.
Well, thanks, Parmelia. I appreciate the beautiful introduction, and my condolences to you having to experience what you experienced, and look where it's gotten you and what you're providing for humanity. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Out of our tragedies sometimes come these beautiful bouquets of flowers for humanity. So this is just awesome. So thank you for the work that you're doing. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I bridge the Western medicine with spirituality and with the consciousness and the unconsciousness. So people always ask, how the heck did that happen? Well, you know what? We all have our stories, and I'll just make this extremely brief because this will give you an idea of what I've gone through in my life and how I got to where I'm at now. I'm 65 years old, so I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and my dad ended up having back surgery in the 1960s, and he acquired a hospital infection, meaning that, in his surgery or something, maybe the instruments weren't sterilized properly. He got an infection, and he was deathly ill in 1966 for about 2 months. And I was in second grade at the time, and my mother's MO for anything that was really painful was ignore it, it'll go away.
Oh dear.
Well, you say that to a child who's an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person. That was me. That is still me. I would ignore it, and it wouldn't go away. It would grow bigger. And I used to tell my mother, it's not going away, it's getting bigger. So I wasn't allowed to feel or have any of that aspect. So I projected all of that into music, and I really excelled in playing the clarinet. In fact, when I was a teenager, I was going to go into music instead of healthcare. And how that pivot happened was, my dad had his illness back in the mid 1960s. And it seemed like once 1970 to 75 came, every time his immune system got compromised, this whole sequela would revisit us. And he would be on his deathbed and in the hospital having to have major surgery because he would have abscesses throughout his abdomen that needed to be drained. My childhood was like an emotional roller coaster. And thank God I had music to channel that emotion into. Okay.
Yes.
So in the 11th hour in 1975, the CAT scanner came on to into Western medicine as the first modern piece of technology that was going to be, it was like the foundational piece of moving forward in the technology world in medicine. So they put my dad underneath the CAT scanner in 1975, and they found that where his infections were coming from were where he had his original back surgery 10 years prior in 1966. So their solution was that he was going to need to have major surgery called a spinal fusion. And in 1975, it was in its neophyte stages of development. So what that meant was that it came with a high risk of either dying, being paralyzed. Maybe you would get better, maybe not. And my mom was at her wit's end because she had been on this emotional roller coaster with my dad and everything else for 10 years, and she was looking for alternatives. So you have to remember, in 1975, we didn't have computer technology or WebMD.
Right.
We had the National Enquirer. Okay. You laugh about this, but it's the truth. So my mom came across an article in the National Enquirer about a minister from Cairo, Michigan. His name was Reverend Alex Holmes. And he had the gift of laying on of hands. And in 1975, he was being featured in the in that platform because he was assistive in healing his brother from leukemia. And this was in 1975. And Reverend Holmes had been doing this work for 25 years prior to that. So he was doing this since the 1950s with some success. And my mom was all over this like butter on bread. My dad, not so much. And my dad said to my mom, only if the surgeon agrees. So this is where things kind of get orchestrated, and all these God moments started lining up because things were happening behind the scenes, even though you couldn't see it. And this is one example that I'm going to share with you. My parents were in the hospital, so my mom said, fine. She went out to the nurse's station where my father's surgeon was sitting and made an announcement to him saying, I'm thinking about having a spiritual healer come in to assist my husband with his condition. Would that be okay? Surgeon's writing his notes, looks up at her and says, sure, that's fine. My mom goes back to my dad because she got the blessing, shared that with my father. My father was he said, fine. So my mom was so excited about this. She went back out to the nurse's station. About 10 minutes later, same surgeon sitting there, made the announcement to the doctor and said, my husband agreed to have the spiritual healer come in to help him with his condition. The surgeon stopped what he was doing, looked up at her and said, what are you talking about? I never agreed to that. Of course, my mom didn't share that piece of information with my dad. And a month later, Reverend Holmes came to our home. I grew up in Connecticut. My mom flew him in from Michigan. And he was the most humble soul that I've met. He just had this essence of purity with him, but it was just like he just was, he was very humble and very quiet, but I could tell he was the real deal. So my siblings and myself, I have a brother and two sisters, and my two grandmothers and my parents were there. Now, what I don't know is how Reverend Holmes knew this piece of information, because he had never met my father prior to that. He noticed that my dad had one leg that was shorter than the other. And we knew that because my dad used to wear a lift in his shoe, but he was barefoot and his shoes and slippers were nowhere in sight. my dad was seated and he said to my father, Joe, please put both your feet up. And sure enough, when you put a book on the longer leg, you could see that 1 inch gap. And he instructed my father to lower his legs. And then Reverend Holmes touched his belly, his solar plexus, and the top of his head, his crown chakra, and said some prayers. And maybe 3 minutes went by. And then he asked my father to raise both his legs, and they were both the same length. In that moment, my life changed forever because I knew it was my mission at age 17 to go into healthcare to bridge what can be seen with what can be seen, and to bridge this, to be a bridge person,
Right.
to bring this information to humanity. My father wailed like a baby, like I've never witnessed, because he needed to see some tangible thing that he could grasp onto to believe that this could actually happen. More prayers were said over my father for the next half hour. He was instructed to lie down and rest. He slept for over 24 hours because we know as energy workers that sometimes this happens. It's like we get a download of energy and our body needs to process and recalibrate itself, just as a computer would get a new upgraded program. And he slept for over 24 hours. He went back a month later to the CAT scanner. They found no evidence of the infection. My dad never had to have surgery. My dad never had to revisit that problem in his lifetime, and he passed away about 11 years ago at the age of 80.
Amazing. I love that story. That is a beautiful story,
Thank you.
Dr. Dolores.
Thank you.
Yes. And it's so interesting on how we get those downloads as children, and also, throughout the rest of our adult life.
Yeah.
I mean, at 17, you were almost an adult considered.
Yep.
And so when we have those experiences, we need to embrace them and know, and you as an empath knew that was a change, that was something that was shifting for you, and bringing you
absolutely.
into alignment with your purpose, really
Oh,
what your purpose
absolutely. And it couldn't have been orchestrated better. From the whole thing where the surgeon gave permission and then kind of reneged on it. It's like, those are God moments. There's something bigger is happening. And this is 1975. So this was considered wacky quackadoo.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? It's just like, and thank God things have shifted. And, you and I are both, pretty close to the same age. It's like, we got to witness this unfolding and acceptance of things that we know that were true. And it's being, the ripple effect that it's affecting humanity at this day and age. We still have a ways to go for sure. But let me tell you, being in the healthcare industry for over 45 years and witnessing what I initially started with where I am now, it is almost a 180-degree turnaround. So to be able to be part of that and to witness the changes, it's I'm so grateful to be here at this time to be part of it.
Well, and I just love the fact that what you are doing is really being the bridge between allopathic medicine and alternative medicine. And I truly believe we need to have that. We need to get along. It's not one or the other. It's not a choice. You don't go, okay, all right, I'm gonna just go this route, or I'm just gonna go this route. And I see that happening more and more, where we're seeing this entwining of the two modalities, which is, and our mission with the Healing Institute, with the educational part of that, is to bring more holistic ways of being well to the general public, because I'm finding a lot of people I talk to who aren't in our realm don't know it. They still don't know it. They don't know that it's available. And so,
well, and I have a few thoughts on that, because I feel that for a very, very, very long time, we have given our power away to something outside of ourselves. We've been conditioned as a society to do that. It's like, look for your answers outside because God forbid you don't know the answers and you're not smart
No,
enough.
because
Who
you're
made
not
that?
you're not a
Who
doctor and
made
you haven't gone to seven years
who?
of
Yeah, but
of
you've lived in
education.
your Taj Mahal your whole
Yes.
entire life. So the thing is, if you have a relationship with yourself and your body, that's the foundational piece to the access to what is your innate healing ability, because we are wired to heal ourselves, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
What has
Absolutely.
happened is that over time, and maybe it's been control of the masses or whatever that was, it's no longer realistic, and it's never been true. It's an illusion. And I feel that as people are starting to take their power back, okay, yes, the doctor has the education, which is great. Take that information, but come back to self. Does that feel aligned with what your body is telling you? Because you have lived in, I joke about this. I've lived in my Taj Mahal for 65 years. I know what it can handle. I know what it can't handle. But when somebody tells me that I need to take this pill and my body's screaming at me, don't take it, guess what trumps? This trumps that. Okay. It's just like, no, my body is attuned to what it needs. And if it's something like that, and I'm not leaning into it or feeling it, and it's not because of fear, it's because of this knowingness, there's a difference. Okay. People do things out of fear.
That's correct. And I really love the fact that people are now not only considering alternative ways to be well, but also listening to their body. And, one
Absolutely.
of the things I truly believe the pandemic has helped us do that is for people to take responsibility for their health.
Absolutely.
When everything got shut down in 2020 and 2021, we had to mask up. We had to stand outside the grocery store 3 feet between each other because they would only allow so many people in the grocery store at a time, we were like, really, what's happening here? But it helped us realign our thought system around the fact that we are responsible for our health. And we are
Absolutely.
responsible for this Taj Mahal. I love that.
It's just like, yeah.
We
So
are responsible. So, that's one thing I believe, because my mom didn't have a really high education. And so she was a very smart woman, very, very smart, did a lot of self-study. But anybody who had a degree of some kind or had a higher education, she immediately gave them the power. She thought right away they were smarter than her because they had that education. Now that was just, her limiting beliefs, obviously, but it had an impact not only on her, but also on me and my sister.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
And thinking that, well, okay, I don't necessarily have a degree in anything, so maybe I'm not so smart. But again, knowing, and I was always been very, very sensitive as a child growing up, very sensitive. I was told, now I say, what you got in trouble for as a child is really your gift. So was always
absolutely
was always in trouble for asking too many questions, was always in trouble for being way too sensitive. You're way too sensitive,
or speaking your truth because you knew stuff. Oh, heaven forbid. Yes.
Heaven forbid you should speak up, because that wasn't that wasn't polite and ladylike. So
it was not at all. Yeah. No,
but we have done a paradigm shift, and I think it's for the better and for the good. And I do agree with you in that there is big shifts happening right now.
Oh my goodness.
Big shifts, and people really need to understand not to be afraid of it, not to don't be afraid, embrace that. And I know you and I were speaking about that before we went online today. Is look at why is that? Why are you fearful of that? It's telling us something. Look at our fear and embrace that fear and find out, okay, why am I feeling like that? There's got to be a cause for that, and then do some research around it.
Absolutely. And, maybe that is what we should probably talk about a little bit, because I feel that, many people are going through, lots of changes. Some of them are uber uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe you have lost a job. Maybe you got cyber attacked and they drained your finances, like it happened to me about 5 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe you have, like, relationships are falling away. What I'm saying is this: your natural tendency is to, okay, let's push it away. I don't want to feel this. Let's fix this up so it looks in a nice little box and I don't have to deal with it anymore. I'm going to invite people, when these things are happening to you, just sit with what you're feeling, because what you're feeling is huge right now, because these are when we have pain or discomfort in our physical body, it's a somatic response to something deeper that's unconscious. Our natural tendency is to want to medicate it, take a pill, fix it really quick. We're reacting to it instead of being, I want to say, contemplative and observant. Okay.
Yeah, great word.
Yes, this
Mhm.
is very uncomfortable and I really want to run and hide and fix it. Yet I'm going to just sit with it right here. What's been very helpful right now is the word self-compassion.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Another thing
when
we're not
you're
taught that we have to learn. We're
exactly,
not taught to have
exactly.
self-care and self-compassion, because that could be selfish and self-centered. But
Oh my
again,
gosh.
if we don't have that, we use the analogy of the oxygen mask. If we don't have that self-compassion, then how can we be compassionate for other people if we don't
Well,
have
that's
it for
it.
ourselves?
Because it starts with us first. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, when we are judging and criticizing ourselves and beating ourselves up, we're, as human beings, we've been programmed to judge and criticize. Okay. We do it, whether or not you're conscious of it or not, we do it all the time. And we also do it to ourselves.
To ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
We beat ourselves up. The self-talk that you say to yourself in your mind, the quiet of your mind, sets you up for a lot of different things. Now, when you start labeling this like a mantra, don't try to figure out what self-compassion is, because you're going to lose the whole effect. Just say it as a mantra: self-compassion, self-compassion, because what'll happen, self-compassion vibrates at a higher frequency, the word.
Yes.
Okay, compared to what you're dealing with, like the guilt and the shame and the judging and the criticizing. It's going to neutralize this and have it come to like a ground zero, and you're going to be able to shift that. It's that simple.
Yes. And I
Okay.
love that you mentioned that, because often we don't realize how important those words are, and that they actually hold a vibrational frequency. And so if we're
They do.
thinking those things in our brain, or through our mind, if we're thinking those negative thoughts, that is lowering our consciousness and lowering our vibrational frequency. So we want to change that up. We want to move that around. And certainly, with the work that I do with Body Code, when we're looking at those trapped emotions that are stuck in the subconscious, well, they're doing the damage. So we want to be able to
Absolutely.
release those. So bringing those out of the subconscious into the conscious brain, so that we can actually make some changes, because that's what's so important, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And, like I said, you think you're alone going through stuff. Trust me, you are not.
Yeah.
It's like I've been very transparent with people, when people ask what's going on, I share that with them,
Yeah.
because to me, it's like it allows them permission to share what's going on
Mhm.
with them. And it's just like people are going through major things. And we're told don't tell anybody anything or whatever. It's just like, no, be vulnerable, share, because in the sharing, you're able to also dissipate some of the energy from what you're experiencing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I can't believe we're almost at the bottom of our 30 minutes, but I want to bring Almari on, because I know she's been going through some a lot of uncertainty right now. So Almari, if you would like to pop on, any questions that you might have for Dr. Dolores? I don't want to unmute you and put your video on unless you wish to. So I'll let you do that.
Hi, Amelia. How are you?
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. Almari's in South Africa, so
Oh,
she's come all the
wow.
way from South Africa.
Well,
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you. Yes, well, I just decided that since my timetable has changed with my recent change in my life. I decided that I'm going to hop onto this, but I'm still at work. I'm trying to finalize the cash up for month end. So I was just listening in. I don't have any questions at the moment, but I love what you've been going through and can relate so much to what you've been going through, to Dolores. I'm also an empath and highly sensitive.
Mhm.
So I would definitely reach out to you at some point and look at what you are doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Amira. I appreciate that. And, we all of us empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people just need to band together because
Yeah.
this is our tribe.
So yes, so as you can probably see, Almari, the Dolores's email, and also she's offering people who hop on the call today a gift of becoming your own best friend. So yeah, please take advantage of those and get in touch with her. We've already had a few one-on-ones, delightful conversations, and so I definitely recommend you do that for sure.
Thank you, Amelia. Okay, I'm on my mobile, so I'm not going to get that information now. I'll just send you a message on LinkedIn and to get the information for you, if that's good.
That is perfect. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for joining us this morning. Well,
Thank
it's
you.
You're
morning. It's morning here on the west coast of North America. I know it's not morning where you are.
It's probably dark 30.
Yes. Thank you, ladies. I'm going to mute myself now again.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
Same to you. Thank you.
So any final words you would like to impart to our audience? This is going to be on my YouTube channel, and I will be sending it out. I have a newsletter that I put together every week. And so
Sure.
I'll make sure I copy you on the newsletter when it goes out
Sure.
Sunday. And
I just want people to know that even though we are living in a real uncertain time right now, when you're able to come within yourself, you create more certainty in your life than you've ever had. And you could become the eye of the storm, basically. For those of us who've been in an eye of a storm like a hurricane, it's surreally calm and quiet, and everything is whirling around you. This is what we want to establish by you coming within yourself and having a relationship with yourself where you know that the information that you're getting from your higher self, your intuition, your God spark, whatever you call it, your chi body, is the information that's your guidance that's going to allow you to take your next steps on your path, not your children's path, not your doctor's path, not your husband's path or your spouse or significant other, but for you yourself.
yes, that is so delightful that you said that, because we don't often, especially as women, we don't often put ourselves first. We've been taught over the years always to give, and give to family, give to our children, give to the community, and we don't often put ourselves first. So that is such an important message. So
Absolutely.
here our vision, of course, is to create a community of expert health practitioners. And we do customize the treatments for people who connect with the holistic practitioners. It's not a one size fits all. And as I mentioned in the beginning, all of the holistic practitioners look for the root cause of what's going on, not just what the symptoms are showing. Our motto here at the Healing Institute is service with love. And we have a big ask. We are asking you to help us heal the world. And that's why it's called Heal the World Show podcast. So please share this information with your friends, with your family, with your community. Let people know that there is this platform of holistic practitioners, and we are available for you on your health journey. So we'll talk to you again next week on Heal the World Show podcast. Thank you again, Dr. Dolores. Delightful to have you here
You're
today.
welcome. You're welcome.